I'd made a promise to myself to dumb down my job interviews for new countries now to increase my chance of success. And for me to remember to do that, I'd have to go, yes sir, yes ma'am, no sir, no ma'am, and a little bit like the politeness Elvis had. And then I'd remember, and I'd be giving them exactly the answers they want, but not in a dishonest way. I'd just be minimizing my answers. The thing is, though, I want a second interview most of the time, right? I want to get a better interpretation by a second interview. And, it's hard to minimize my talking this way. And then I end up, getting excited that my heart hallucinates there's a potential collaboration possible. If somebody was there to coach me and say, Martin, based on logic or observations, where's your hope coming from? And then honestly, I wouldn't be able to justify it. But it's more like wanting to leave a place, to minimize my suffering from species alienation. So as I dumb down my interviews, I find I'm not very successful. So the latest one here, Green Breeze English School here, is the lady was really interested in working with me, but there's always multiple adults who eventually are so insecure, they have low self-esteem, low self-confidence, that it's not they don't think I'd be good for the kids, it's that unconsciously they realize I'm not good for them because of their intellectual laziness. They wouldn't be able to not feel inadequate, and that's how I lose opportunities. So I'd have to go for really more high profile, like principals or vice principals or school counselors or evaluators of teachers or curriculum or things like that, and then I'd be able to be more at my level and have people kind of know, okay, we're interacting with a guy with this level if he got this job, right? So I have to start doing that, but I still have to kind of dumb it down a little bit to succeed. I can't get too much to show my commitment for quality when it comes to education and how I'm willing to fight for it more than they are, even if their own kids are going at that school. And I have examples from Canada for that one. And it's quite sad too. There's a little boy I work with, and 3 days with him, he never talked, but I got him to actually say the sentence the teacher was asking the class to say when I was finishing my last day. The loudest, it just suddenly came out like I didn't even expect it. And he actually sat on the chair for the class picture that nobody thought he was going to do, and sat with me and was happy with me. And the next day I see him with a regular worker that's part of the culture and the friendship of the mother that works there as a specialist for special education needs. And she never asked me how I made such progress with her son compared to her regular worker, who was a man who was on vacation for a while those 3 days I was there. But how sad is that, not only as an educator but as a mother, with such great progress in 3 days, would not ask me. And it's only on the third day somebody introduced her to me again that she kind of just barely said hi, because she's so important and she's got so many things to do, and she's so much better than me because she works there full-time or something. I don't know what it is, but it's quite sad that it's like this. And I have to not talk about these things in job interviews. I have to not be self-disclosing too much of my research, not just for the country I'm applying in, but for around the world, or the species, or the cultures of education that have blended with the monetary paradigm in general. So this latest one, the Green Breeze English School, is the lady that sent the email was probably told not to contact me again, although she would have loved to work with me. But the owner, and then supposedly some woman in charge of teachers who actually was so incompetent in the second interview I had. I asked the lady, I said, what was this one about, just to kind of see what I sound like or look like, because there was no real new questions. It was just somebody who got their 2 cents in and decided they didn't like me because I asked them the same question, 3 words to define them, and I could only hear 2. The third one got blocked off, and when I kept saying, they're still talking in Japanese for a bit, and it's like I never got to know what the third one was. The first 2 were enthusiasm and talkative. My 3 were creative, confident, and problem solver. And that's simple because I'd like to actually give them more complex answers, which would be, again, too intimidating. So the answer I got is, they decided to go with another candidate, and they said it's not because I'm not qualified or I don't have the right credentials, which is another way to say unconsciously they know they would look inadequate, or that their job would just be a little bit harder because now there's somebody excited, there's somebody that they can learn things from when they're not in learning mode, although they're promoting school cultures. It's quite sad. That's the way it is. So I'm finding it really hard to dumb it down, I'm losing my humanity, and this time it's not even for the sake of social connections, it's just to save up money for a couple of years so I can start my own school, because it's impossible to actually have, at this point, anywhere in Asia, I'm pretty sure, and even if it's all, mixed with another American or UK university or school board or program curriculum, it's the same everywhere, and I'm tired of going through that dance, so now I just want to get anything with a reasonable salary, so I don't have to buy a lottery ticket or wait for an inheritance to continue with believing that I can achieve the goal of starting my own school, which is, again, a little goal that's keeping me alive in such a discouraging, declining world. And of course I'm talking as a social scientist when I say these things. When I judge things, like when I judge the Homo communia, I'm not judging them as a biologist. I'm judging them as a social scientist. So, and as a social scientist, I mean, years ago I already had enough evidence to know it's correct, and to travel the world and to see that it's correct and my theory applies everywhere, and it doesn't make me feel better, right? So I'm fantasizing of a little school somewhere, and people could come from far away, and they could live there as a wellness center and work the land a little bit as we do this Humanix program. And anybody that wants to do extra things, such as specialize more in critical thinking or anything like that, or even some of the skills to survive, such as growing our own food, or building things, or solar panels or things like that, we could incorporate that as well.